Right. Thanks, Rita. And I really want to encourage you to take the time to ask questions now, only because selfishly, I am not an ETC. For those of you who don't know me, I am just your friendly neighborhood English teacher at the high school, and I have my own course load and things like that. And so therefore, it's really important that if you have a question, you ask me now or sooner rather than later, so that I'm not bombarded while I'm also trying to get my stuff off the ground, right? And so I also want to make a caveat. I'm going to do my absolute best. I am not the world's expert on Canvas, but I do try, and I have been using it for a while, and I'm happy to show you some basics and maybe some features if you have used it a little bit, some features that you aren't super familiar with, okay? So here's our goals for today. We want to understand some of the features of Canvas. I'm going to model how to get started in creating a Canvas quiz. And then I'm going to actually show you a more advanced feature where you can do some little tricky tricks to randomize the quiz questions to pull from a bigger bank of questions, so that if you were to give a retake, you don't have to really recreate the test. It's going to give the student new questions from this bigger bank. So I'm going to talk to you about that. So I do want to let you know that Canvas has amazing how-to guides. Like, you don't understand that most of the time when somebody calls me in the middle of my class and asks me for Canvas help, I 9 times out of 10 go and pull up the Canvas guides and I do that search. So I want you to be empowered to go to the Canvas guides. It's linked in the slideshow, and I know Rita is going to put it in the chat in a little bit. I also have linked in the slideshow a basic video tutorial that I made. It's not the highest quality, frankly. I made it probably around March 6th last year, so you can kind of get exactly how panicked everybody was about the impending shutdown. But it is something if you need for a refresher. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pop out of the slideshow for now, and I am going to model some procedures here. Rita, anything in the chat while I'm just navigating real quick? I don't
Yes,
think so.
well, no, about today's slides, I'm just getting them right now to put them in. So give me 1 second. And I like to put them in 10 minutes in, because if
No
people
worries.
late, they don't
I
see
was
the
just
previous
checking,
chat.
Rita.
No,
No
no,
chat.
I was mentioning it to our wonderful peeps, asking if you join and I've already added it, then you don't see the previous chat. So I usually just kind of wait a few minutes. But Mary, you're doing a great job. Everybody's getting all settled in. And I love, Mary, how you changed your picture. I talked about that in the Canvas template, how you have those cute
Yeah,
cats.
I don't think I'm actually, this is my like play around class.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't think I'm actually going to have like fantasy cats on books,
Oh,
though it
well.
would be on brand for me. But anyway, I digress. So I always like to start when I talk about Canvas about the 2 left-hand side menus. The black one on the far left-hand side, that's your universal controls. You're going to see that no matter where you are in Canvas. And then the inner one that is white with the orange colored words, that is your course level controls. And you're going to be able to navigate within your course there. So if I'm going to make a quiz, obviously the quickest, easiest way is to click quizzes. Now you notice there's this little like eyeball with the slash thing. That doesn't mean that quizzes is disabled. It just means that I have it set so my students don't see that quizzes button. So if I click quizzes, okay, I'm going to move this around. You're going to get your quizzes index page where you can see quizzes that you have created and quizzes that you have imported from maybe a colleague or Commons. The quickest way, obviously, is if you go to the far right and you click quiz, plus quiz. Now, you're going to notice that you're going to have 2 tabs. If you kind of see where I'm wiggling and jiggling my cursor here, you have 2 tabs, okay, details and questions. And you have to fill out both to create a quiz. The first tab is details, and that's where you're going to give things like the name of the quiz, general quiz instructions. So like not the individual questions, but the general like instructions. as well as settings for the quiz, like when students can access it, do they have a time limit, et cetera, et cetera. Um, so when we look at our details, you get the same rich text editor that you get anywhere else in Canvas. So this is where if you needed to just write, so I can write instructions, follow them or else. I'm just kidding. I would never actually write that. And I feel weird because I don't see anyone's faces in my thing. So I just feel weird just talking into the void of my sarcasm. But regardless, you put your directions there.
You're
There we
doing
go.
great,
Thanks.
Mary. You're great.
But if you wanted to add a video, a link to an outside source, my math or science folks, you can insert a math equation. I'm going to be honest, I am an English teacher, so I do not know how this math equation tool works, but I bet you there's a Canvas guide for that. You can add all sorts of different kinds of things, just like you can add in any other source. I also want to call attention to the far right-hand side where we have the links and files and images menu. So let's say I wanted students to have access to a certain assignment that I wanted them to be able to refer back to during the quiz. I can actually go to where it says links, and I can go to assignments. I can click on the assignment, and then it actually makes a little hyperlink there. So that's actually a pretty slick thing if I wanted to have students refer back to a previous assessment. If I scroll down, I get all my options, and I get where first one says graded quiz. I can have practice quiz. So for example, my whole grad school is on Canvas. And so oftentimes we would do a practice quiz before we did our graded quiz. So I took a higher level French course and we got to practice a couple times before we were able to take the graded quiz. You could also use it like a survey, like you can in Google Forms. I'm going to be honest, I actually just think that the quiz functions where the magic happens here. And if you want to do a survey, I'd still stick with Google Forms, to be honest, because it's so much easier to export to a spreadsheet, yada, yada, yada. And again, I can't answer every question about how syncing to PowerTeacher works for the middle school because I am a high school teacher. And if you have questions about that, feel free to talk to your ETC, like Steph or Sarah. But you can sync quiz scores to PowerTeacher. If you want to shuffle the answers so that in case a kid's looking over at somebody else, they won't see that the multiple choice options are the same, So the first one is not going to be the same as someone else's first one. If you feel so inclined, you might want to put a time limit. I personally don't use time limits that often unless it's AP because they have a time limit on the AP test. You can also allow multiple attempts. So maybe it's, oh yes, my dear.
Mary, a great question in the chat. Can you link to outside sources too when you're talking about linking? And if you could,
Yes.
would that be a Google form? Or did you mainly mean continue to use Google Form for just surveys? Can you talk a little bit about how you incorporate Google Forms in some of your quizzes?
Oh, okay. So I don't use Google Forms in my quizzes. I'm just saying where it says quiz type right here, it says practice quiz, graded quiz, survey, and ungraded survey. So surveys are like how we would be like, would you like apples or oranges for dinner? And if I was just giving a survey to my class just for like, would you like to have the test on Monday or Tuesday? I would still use a Google form because I just think it's a better survey. If I'm writing a quiz like, what's the square root of 144? I would use like quizzes. Did that clarify it?
She didn't say
Yeah,
yes.
that was me, Mary. It clarifies it, so thank you.
Yep. So then anyway, if we continue, when it says allow multiple attempts, so perhaps you want students to have more than one try. You can allow as many attempts as, well, I don't think it says many. I don't know how many attempts. Seems like I can cap out at 10,000 attempts. But you can give, I want them to have 3 attempts. I can decide that I want them to have the highest, the latest, or the average when it comes to having multiple attempts. The next option is you have a lot of latitude when it comes to letting students see their responses, and also the correct answers. So the first one, where it says let students see their quiz responses, it will let them know, like, this is what you selected, and this, and it tells you if it was right or wrong. But unless you click the one that's a little bit further, where it says let students see the correct answers, they won't see the right answer, right? So that depends. You have to think and reflect about, like, there's no great way to do it. It just depends on what works for you and your school and your policies at your school for retakes. What is this? Is this a final exam, or is this a little quick check, right? It depends. You can decide that students can see their responses, whether incorrect or not, right away, or if after every attempt they take, or only their last one. So let's say you give them 3 attempts, they only can see if they got it right or wrong after the 3rd attempt. You could set it so that students see the correct answers, but only after their last attempt. It's just up to you. There is no right or wrong way to do it. You can also decide that students will automatically get to see the right answers at a certain time, and you can also hide them. So let's say you want everybody, you took the test and you know that you took it on Friday, and you want the correct answers to show up again the next Friday. By that time, everything's graded, etc. And that maybe you're like, ooh, but at least at the high school, we're going to be doing kind of a quarter rotation. You don't want these quiz answers out there for the rest of time, right? So you might hide the correct answers after a certain number of time. Your students have done their feedback. You can do that as well. I'm going
Mary,
to show just
are you able to zoom in a little bit on just a few of those
I'm
screens?
trying. It doesn't seem to let me when I'm in Zoom.
Yeah. So for
Oh, there you go.
for our audience members, you can always pin Mary. So like I pinned her on my laptop, so I don't see any other people, or I don't see the chat. So I know sometimes the Canvas menus can be kind of intricate. So don't hesitate to double click on what Mary's showing us, and then it should go full screen for you with limited
Looks like I
stuff on the
seem to
top.
be able to zoom a little bit. It just is, the
Yeah.
trackpad is different on this computer.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Thank you, Mary.
Yep. If I go, just trying, it's like really not wanting to zoom. The next one is really great if you have students. I know I have students, particularly students with IEPs, who get overwhelmed when they see multiple, like a whole row of questions to have to complete. So you can click show one question at a time. And so it just is one question at a time. They click next, and the next question shows up. So that can be really a good thing for students that might get really stressed by seeing, like, 20 questions all in a row. The next two are features that I would use with caution, and one I would not use at all, specifically because we are remote. But the first one is require an access code. You could, in theory, create a password protected quiz, and the students can only access it once they have the password. If you wanted to make a different version for all of your sections, I suppose you could do that. But then you still have to communicate that password out to kids. And then it's already going to be in an email or a message. So at that point, it's no longer secure, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And then filter IP addresses. No, don't do that. Basically, you could, in theory, filter it so that only the school's IP address would come up, and they could only access it at school. But A, I don't know the school's IP address, and B, we're not at school, so don't touch that. The next is the assign feature is just like assignments, where you can assign to everyone, or you can assign to specific sections, or even specific students. Now, this is like a mess around course for me, so I don't have any kids in here, and I don't have any sections. But in theory, I have 2 sections of AP Lit, and one is I have one that's in quarter 1 and one that's in quarter 2 now. I'm going to need to make sure that I'm assigning it to my appropriate section. I've also, if you notice where it says add, sometimes you might have a student who can't take the quiz that day for whatever reason, right? And they get to you ahead of time. Maybe you decided to have a floating deadline for whatever reason. You can click add and you can still assign it to the rest of the class, but you can assign it to a specific student if you need to. So that's pretty cool. When you do that, you can make sure you can set the due date. When you put a due date in, that's when it will appear on the Canvas calendar. So my high school folks, remember the Canvas calendar is going to be one of our non-negotiables for the year. So putting that there. And again, you can decide that you want it available, like when can they start accessing it, and when can it stop being accessed. So if you want to control exactly when, okay? So I'm going to pause there and see if there's any questions, Rita, and or else I'm going to go and talk about how to actually make questions.
Yeah, so Mary, one of the wonderings is, and you might be getting to this, but could you show us from start to finish, maybe how to create a 5-question quiz, a multiple choice quiz?
That's where I'm headed, my friends.
Oh, okay, because this was a great overview. And now I'm beginning to see that many of these Canvas features were the same as the rubric or the discussion, you know, how you assign and the dates and all sorts of things. So great, Mary. We want to,
Yep.
in the end, see work the magic, and we're going to make a quiz from start to finish, like maybe 4 questions.
All right. So I've decided that these are the settings that I want. I'm going to assign it to everyone. I'm going to decide that it's due tomorrow. And I'm not going to mess with these two for now. I go all the way back up to the top. So I scroll back to the top and I'm going to click the tab that says questions. Okay. So I'm going to walk you through just making just fresh questions. Okay. I'll show you more fancy things in a little bit. But this is just the basics. This is the like Honda Accord. So what we're going to do is you just click the big button that says new question. And looky here, you get the same rich text thing that you get. Yes, you can link it to outside links. You can link it to internal links. You got all that. Now, I will actually walk you through how to make a multiple choice, but oh my gosh, I don't know how. I can't really zoom in, but when I click up here where it says question, and then it says multiple choice, I've got true, false, fill in the blank, fill in multiple blanks, multiple answers, multiple drop downs, matching, numerical answer, formula question, essay question, file upload. There's so much. There is just so much. And I'm going to be honest, I am not an expert on all of these, but you know what? There's a Canvas guide for that if you really want to know, my friends, if you really want to know how to do a formula question, because we don't have a lot of formulas in AP literature. Well,
So Mary, what would you pick if you wanted just an open-ended question?
I would
know you're
click
getting to
essay
multiple choice.
question. Essay
Ooh,
question
okay.
just gives them a box to type in.
Boom.
Things like fill in the blank. That's where like the student has to type in the exact right answer. That could
Mhm.
be really great in foreign language when spelling and accents are like the learning goal, because that's what my professor tortured us with in my French class last summer. You
I
get
like
a
that,
sense.
Mary. And you answered a question in the chat. So yes, we do know you can have open-ended questions now. On with the presentation, Mary. Multiple
I'm going
choice
to do multiple
quiz.
choice because, you know, AP Lit still has a multiple choice part of the test where it says the big typey box. I'm going to say like, what is the conflict of paragraph 2? And then if I scroll, I get this little option. It's only going to give you 2 at first, but you can always add more. And the order that you type them in is not necessarily the order that they're going to show up in. It does mix around. But the first thing you can do is you put the correct answer. So I might put hot dogs. And then I'm going to put a distractor answer in hamburgers. Now I want more distractors. So near the bottom, I'm going to click add another answer. All right,
Pizza.
tacos, pizza.
Okay.
Sure. I had to put my favorite food in there. Okay. So think I added more than I needed to. If you want to delete one, if you just hover over it and you can click pencil to edit or garbage can to get rid of it. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you some other really cool things. Right below where it says, you know, correct answer or possible answer, there's this little box with the 3 dots. And if you're a student in my class, I always tell you 3 dots, just like in a book, dot, 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 to be continued, dot, 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 more options. So when I click that dot, I get a little another text box. And so this is a place where I can put feedback. So if a student clicked the right answer, I can be like, way to go, right? And I click done. Now, maybe the student picked the wrong answer. I can click the little red dot, dot, dot here, and I'd be like, double check paragraph 2, buddy. And I can
So
click
Mary,
done.
could I ask a clarifying question, Mary? You're actually
Yeah.
creating the quiz now. So
I am.
if you put this feedback in now, everybody would see it. Would you
Everybody would.
would you
So
wait and
this
put the
is,
feedback in after they take it?
you can do that too, but this is like automatic feedback.
Oh, automatic. Thank you for clarifying. Now I'm
Yeah, so this
catching
is
on.
automatic feedback. So like they select the
Okay.
answer, they, you know, they click the wrong one, it's going to give them this automatic little feedback saying like, ooh, buddy, you should go back and check over here, right? So like maybe it's a math test. I might have the solution here. I don't know.
I
When
like
you're
that.
done creating this question, you can click update question. And now you have a question. You're like, but where did all my options go? Oh, they're there. They're just compressed. You click show question details and you can see what your question looks like.
Mary, when students take a quiz, whether it's a multiple choice or a short answer, do they have to type with their keyboard or can they actually use their finger to write the answer? I'm assuming they can use their finger for the open-ended ones. Like, they don't have to type it, correct?
No, I think they have to type it. I've never known it to work with pencils.
Because how are we supposed to do a math that's not multiple choice then? That's my only issue.
Okay, so I mean, I'm unsure, Rita. Maybe you know something I don't know, Rita, that I feel kind of like bamboozled here. But you know, you can also do file upload. So a student can write it on paper or on Notability and upload the image.
Ooh, great idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Perfect. Perfect answer to that.
Okay. Do you want me to keep making questions, Rita, or was seeing one enough? Because it can get laborious.
Sure. So one of the individuals asked, when they select that answer, will they see that feedback right away? Like, will I say, ooh, good job for the hamburger one? Or will I wait until I, submit the entire quiz and then get that feedback? Or do I get this as I go?
I do believe it is at the end, like the final end.
Okay. There are a few other questions that I'm noting, but they're more like, how do you sync Canvas with PowerSchool? So if we have time, maybe at the end. And then another question was, how do you make it so that the student does this assignment and this, or gets certain percentage before they can move on? And that's kind of more features in the module, like how you set up modules and assignments. So I wrote those down. We can noodle those if we have time at the end. Can this link with Quizlet?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know what
Google
A you mean, and B, I don't know.
Yeah, okay. And then can you insert a screenshot as a question? Oh, they're coming fast and furious now, Mary. Can you have a screenshot, upload an image, and that be?
Well, when you make a new question, right, where it has like embed image right here, I'm assuming you could upload a screenshot.
Yep. Excellent answer. And the correct one, too.
Okay, I feel like I'm in a quiz show and then Rita's the moderator.
I'm just
sitting
reading
here like, I'm just like, yeah, but I feel like I'm not an expert. I'm just some person that Googled a lot. So anyway, that's about questions. Now I'm also going to show you, I know, Rita, you wanted me to go from start from finish, but there's so much more I need to show.
Perfect.
And I think I did model, and I'm going to show a model quiz in a second. So
okay.
Hold with me, people. Hold her up. So now another thing is some of us might want to bring in questions from another class. So for example, one solution is I might have a general, I don't know why I would do this, but let's just say there's something that I'm doing in AP English that I'm doing with English 2, and I want to be able to pull some of those questions from another course. More likely what's happened, and I talked about this yesterday in my rubric session, is that at least at the English at the high school, a lot of us are on a shared Canvas course that's not tied to PowerSchool or anything as a PLT group. So like all my English 2 teachers, we all have a shared blank Canvas course where we together create content, and we're all teachers in it, right? And so then we can import stuff from our shared course into our main PowerSchool course. If we have time, I'd be happy to show you about that. But if not, there's a Canvas guide for that. But anyway, let's say I want to pull in a question from some other course that I'm already in. I can click Find Questions, and it works a lot like the Find Rubric feature from the rubric one yesterday, is that I've got a list of all of my quizzes I think I've ever done in like the beginning of time, and I can pick that. So let's say I want to pull from my Jane Eyre, and I can add, oh, actually not that one. That one didn't have any questions in it. That's a bad one. So I can pick my quiz, and then I can decide which questions from that past quiz, either from this course or from other courses, and then I can add those questions as well. And so now I just was able to add questions from another quiz, either from the course or from other courses that I have been in the past. So whether they're your past Canvas courses from the year before, or maybe they are courses that you're sharing with a colleague. Okay, should I pause for a second, Rita?
You're doing great. I'm keeping up with the chat. Some people are commenting that maybe you can embed Quizlet in, and just some other wondering. So,
yep, I'm not sure. I can investigate that perhaps. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you, I'm actually just save and publish. I'm going to show you an example in a second. So in this quiz, I don't know literally why I forgot what I'm talking about right now. I have used a feature called groups, quiz bank groups. So I'm going to talk about this in a second. And what this allows you to do is to make banks of questions. So I think about a bank being like a big file folder of questions that are alike, right? So if I'm doing all my chapter 1 for Jane Eyre, and all my chapter 2 is in another bank, and all my question 3 is in another bank, right? And what this allows you to do is you can have a setting where that you have, let's say I have 10 questions in each of my little banks. And then I can set it so that when a student opens the quiz, it's set to only take 3 from each bank. So there are 7 still in that bank. So when that student needs a redo, they just need to reopen the quiz, and with the power of Canvas, now when they open, it might take 3 random more, right? So the odds are great that they won't get the same question again. Okay, so I'm going to show you, I'll show you how to make it, then I'm going to show you what that looks like. So in this case, I have 6 questions, and I'm going to do my answers. Shout out to A Raisin in the Sun. Like a quiz to see if I remember the old book I used to teach. Okay. But if I preview it again, well, if you notice, look at, I have a new question. So the questions pulled from, so it's the same, and some of it are the same because I'm going to be honest, I have really small question banks for this one. But if you notice, I they took the quiz again and the questions are different. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do it now that you know that this is where I'm headed, because it's kind of a mind bend. Okay. So the first thing we have to do is make a question bank, right? So we have to make those containers that the questions live in, okay? And you click on quizzes on that left-hand little menu here. And like I said, the 3 dots means there's more options. And one of my options when I click those 3 dots is manage question banks. I have all the question banks I've created, and I can add more question banks. And I'm going to call this one standard 3. And I just click enter, and I click the little name. And now I can do a couple things. I can add a question fresh, like I can add, you know, a brand new question like I did before. And I can have my little answers, and I'm just like making it up right now. Well, that's not gonna be really confusing if they're all answered D, huh? Right, I have a question. I can also move questions from other banks into it. Oops. Well, I guess it's not liking me today, but you can add questions in that way. I guess moving questions isn't working today. To be honest, usually this is where I'm just creating them, right? Because I'm putting them into a bank. And so when I put things into a bank, this is where I might put questions all of the same type, right? So if I'm a biology teacher and I'm doing a unit on plants, I might put all my questions on plant cell biology in one bank, and I might put a second bank that has all my questions on plant reproduction. And in my third bank, I might put all my questions on, I don't know, my favorite plant. Clearly I'm not a biology teacher, but I'm going to put them alike, right? So that when I set it to randomize, it's pulling from the bank that has that similar standard or content or skill, okay? So now I'm going to show you how would you attach it into a quiz. So again, we're going to go back to my trusty quizzes. And in this case, I'm going to click plus quiz again. Again, remember the details tab is where you put the name and all of the settings. Where you add questions, you click questions. And now this time you click new question group. And I'm just going to call it group 1. And there's a little spyglass where it says link to a question bank. And I not only originally first will get every question bank I've ever made, but if I, in any course ever since the beginning of time, but if I just want to see the ones for this course, I click the view course question banks. And then I can select from there. I'm going to go back because I don't want them from there. And now it's all fuzzy.
Pretty
Rita,
big for us, Mary.
I
Got
know,
a
I'm
big-
trying. It's getting, like the trackpad doesn't work for me very well. If I click new question group again, I link to question bank. I can pick from whichever one I wanted. So I'm going to pick this question bank. I click select bank. Now it says where it says that it's pulling from this question bank multiple choice. That's the name of the question bank. And up here where it says pick one question, 1 point per question. Now I remember there were 7 questions in that bank. I might only want them to pick 3. And I might decide I want to throw caution to the wind. Let's make it 2 points per question. Feeling generous today. You know, whatever. And then I click create group. And there you go. Now, if I wanted to add from another one, I click new question group. I get this little box again. I can link to a question bank. This time I might click this question bank. And this time I want it to only pick 2. And I want it to be 5 points per question. Click save and publish. Um, my internet's been acting a little goofy today. But, and so there you go. I have all my questions and it is pulling randomly from those banks.
Mary, I've kind of been following the chat and stuff. I don't know how much additional new content you have, or I don't know if you want to give people like 3 or 4 or 5 minutes to try a couple quiz features.
Yeah, let's have them try. And while people are trying, I'm going to collect my anxious self and see what else I have to convey.
Yeah, and Andrew Paul asked, where do the questions bank go? Do they just kind of reside? Do you want to show where they go, or like where the
Well, they're
question
in
bank?
quizzes. You get quizzes
Okay.
and you click the 3 dots, manage question banks, and that's where all of your question banks live.
So
And students can't get to them.
right. And Barb, did you see that? Those 3 little dots on that far right side?
So I'll model it again. Quizzes.
Yeah.
And then to the right of the plus quiz, there's the 3 dots, and you click dot, dot, dot,
Got it.
manage question banks. And that's where your question banks are.
Okay,
And that's where you can create a new one.
Okay.
And Mary, while people are kind of practicing and clicking on a quiz, another question, can you show us in the end where the grades and the results from the
Yep.
quizzes are found? So you'll show us that after they have a chance to practice a
Yep.
little bit?
I will
Okay.
definitely do that. I'll take one as
Plan
a
on
student.
that. Can kids take quizzes without your prompting?
Well, that would be depends on the settings, right?
Mhm.
So if I'm looking at my settings here, you know, if I, so there is no like nuclear button that was like release the hounds. Like there is no button like that. However, if you only want them to access it at like only starting from this time and this time, if you can click available from, and then you can pick the time like at 11 a.m. and it's only available from, you know, like it will only unlock at the certain time. And I didn't set that properly, but because I didn't push enter. There you go. So at this time, it's only going to unlock at 11 a.m. And if I only want them to have 30 minutes to do it, I can do time limit 30 minutes. So there is no like, you know, nuclear code button, but you can have it unlock at a certain time.
Mhm. Thanks for the great questions, everybody. So we'll give everybody about 5 minutes to try a few of these features, and then we can kind of come back together and see how the grading magic works and how Mary sees the results from quizzes that students have taken.
Rita, can I ask you a question about another presentation that you did?
Sure.
So I believe it was one of the first that I attended, you had up the word search or finding animals, and you had said to go to slides to go, and that they were located there, and I could not find that. I saw a lot of different templates to create like Google Slides and those kinds of things, but I couldn't find where it had the searches.
Okay. I'm gonna go, I'm gonna try to find that and put that in the chat for everybody. Just,
Okay.
why don't you give me a few minutes while people are working on the quiz. And in about 10 minutes, I'm getting ready to put the Google form in there that will be a required attendance if you want to get paid. So make certain that you're available in about 10 or 12 minutes when that Google form goes in there too. So we'll give you a little bit more time to work, and then we'll come back together.
think we're ready to move on, Rita.
I think we are, and I actually found the slide that Hannah wanted. So yes, I think we're ready to move on to the last portion.
Okay. So before I quick show you what it looks like on the feedback end, etc., I do want to show you a couple more features because if you want to edit your quiz before students take it, you can click the edit button and you can go back and edit it. You can click preview to see what it looks like. And then you can click these 3 dots, dot, 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 more options. And you could immediately lock it if, you know, something's going tricky and you're like, this looks a little sketchy. You could just lock it. You know, you can manually release the quiz results. Okay, so let's say you have it set to release on Friday, but you want to release it Thursday. You can manually release results. You can message students. So like this might be message students who have taken the quiz or students who have not taken the quiz. So you can do a quick reminder. You can also delete it if you're like, this sucks. You can send it to, so, you know, little buddy says he doesn't know where it is. I can send it directly to that student. And I can also copy too. So let's say I'm going to do the same quiz. Let's say it's just like a syllabus understanding quiz. Like, do you understand what's going on here? I might make it in one class and I can copy it to my other courses that I'm in. So that's pretty slick. Okay. So without further ado, I'm going to go back to my home. I'm going to click on the far right hand. I'm going to click student view. And I'm going to show you what it looks like to take it as a student. And then I'm going to show you as a teacher then what does that feedback look like. So, you know, if I have to do something, it might show up, this is student view now, on that right hand side, it might show up on my to-do list, okay? It might be also linked in my modules, so if my teacher has linked it in the modules, or if my teacher has allowed me to see the quizzes button on the side, that is also a place where students can see. When they click it, the first thing they see is they see like basically the restrictions right at the top. So it's like they know what they're going into. They know that it's worth 5 points. They know that it's 5 questions. They know they have no time limit. They have 3 allowed attempts. Here is where I have my instructions. Remember, this is also where I linked another assignment as like, so they can go back and look. And then they click take quiz. Again, they get those same instructions at the top, so they're not gone. They can, if you go on the right hand side, they can toggle between the questions if they want to jump ahead. And there is a timer, and you know, but that stresses me out, so I just hide it. So it says hide or show. You can click hide or show. And then in this case, I can click my answers. Right? This is where, you know, I could embed an image if I needed to. I can type, and I'm going to click submit quiz.
I want to see if we see that feedback, Mary.
Well, let's see. Oh, look at there.
Oh, way to go.
I didn't make feedback on other ones.
Mm-hmm.
So now I get my quiz score right there. Now, notice these ones where I had to type, it says not yet graded, right? Because the teacher hasn't graded it yet. So you will have students, I'm just going to be honest, kids like me with an anxiety issue are going to be like, Miss Harden, why does it say 3 out of 5? There's no way I could get a 3 out of 5. And then you're just going to be like, well, does it say not graded yet? And they go, yes. And be like, give me a moment. I will grade it and you will be fine. I love you. It's good. But, you know, inevitably there will be someone that loses their head because they think they really did get a 3 out of 5. So, and it does try to tell them, but, you know, inevitably kids will panic because they do. Where it says current score, 3 out of 5, kept score, because I have 3 more attempts and will prompt me if I want to take it again. It does try to tell me that some questions are not yet graded. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave the student view and I'm going to show you as a teacher what that looks like. So once I left my student view, I can always get back to quizzes by clicking quizzes and then selecting the quiz I want from the index. I can do a couple different things. I can click speed grader, and just like assignments, it's going to show up like an assignment in speed grader. Now I can double check, like let's say they click the wrong, let's say I wrote the question wrong. And I'm like, oh shoot, like, they got it wrong, but it's like they really should get it right because it was me, I biffed. Like you can alter the points here if you want. You can scroll, and when you can type additional comments to specific questions, like specifically to this kid. And when you get to the ones that haven't been graded yet, you can just enter the point if they got it or whatever it is, and then you can type your comments. Okay. And then you want to do, I don't know how this would work in middle school, but let's say fudge points. Maybe, like they technically got a multiple choice question answer wrong, but in other questions, they really did show that standard. And so you wanted to fudge the points because what they showed you actually showed the skill, right? Even if the computer graded it wrong. You can give it a fudge point if you wanted, like you can bump it up or bump it down. But just make sure that when you're done doing all the, grading here, you click update score. And now if you were to look on that far right underneath where it says grade, it now says 5 out of 5. And just like all the other kinds of things, you can type general quiz comments. You can insert a file attachment. So maybe you need to upload something. You can make a media comment. I know yesterday I talked about, I had a professor in grad school who used to give all his paper comments in video while he was eating chips. And then you also have the speech to text tool. So you can actually click this button and you can talk and speak your comments, but it will type it for you, which is pretty slick. So that's how yep, I'm getting there. Sorry.
I just have a question about the fudge points. So
Yep.
I'm assuming that can only be seen from the teacher side, not from the student side, correct?
Let's check it out. Let's see.
Okay.
I don't use that feature, so let's see. Does it let us do that? Well, it says 6 out of 5 there.
Oh, okay.
Mm,
Thank you.
I got the fudge.
We got the fudge.
Okay.
All right. So I'll show you what it looks like from now. What does the student see if they wanted to check? Back to my student view. So now I'm in student view. My quiz has been graded, and my grades button now has a little black 1. So that shows I've got something to look at. In this case, it shows you the list of all your assignments. Now automatically I can just see the score, right? I got a 6 out of 5. But I can also, if I click on the name of the assignment, I can actually see what it is. Now remember, my teacher, I didn't have it set where the students can see the correct answers, right? If I had that feature set, then students would get to see, what the answer is correct. However, the student just got all the right answers. Now, the teacher didn't have any general comments for me here. However, if I've got a comment for my teacher, I can go like, why did I get a fudge point? And I can have a comment back to my teacher about my grade. And in fact, looky here, I just got a notification on my phone that I got a notification from test student about unnamed quiz. So look at that, I just got a notification right here.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what I have for you, my friends, today. Like without, that's kind of a quick and dirty kind of go through it, the basics of it. But there are, if you get, because this is a lot to remember all at once, like I don't think I could do it. But don't feel it's okay to start small. It's okay to practice with a fake one first. It's also okay to look back at the Canvas guides. Like, I think that's going to be our best friend, is those Canvas guides, because they step by step go through it if you can't remember.
Mary, Andrew Paul had a question. Can you just kind of go over setting the dates a little bit? He has a couple wonderings with the dates. And then Barb wanted to know, did you have to download something to get the message? So maybe you might want to show notifications and how teachers can set notifications of when students submit stuff. I am getting the form ready to put in the chat, so hang with us for the attendance and My Learning Plan payment. So I'm just getting the form ready right now.
All right. So the first thing is for dates. I'm assuming you mean like set dates so that students can only access it at certain times. Is that what
Mary,
you mean, Andrew Paul?
no,
Hi, Andrew.
hey, I was wondering, as I was trying to set the dates, it gave me this error message that it said, sorry, I'm going back to it. It says unlock date cannot be after lock date. So I'm having trouble with the two dates. So the first date, shouldn't
The first date is when it unlocks, and the second date is when it locks up again.
Okay, so I'm trying to do both of those right now when I was doing my fake quiz, and now I'm trying to add it and try to save it, and I'm gonna see if it allows me to do it this time.
So Mary, the unlock has to come obviously before the lock.
Yep.
So the unlock
So in this
can be
case, I'm going to pick it unlocks on the 21st, and I'm going to have it lock on the 24th. So the earlier date should be on the left. Fair enough?
Yeah, I tried to do that. I'll let you know later how that works out, but for some reason I'm getting a weird error, but it's okay. I see what you're saying.
Yep.
Mhm.
And sometimes if we're setting a date that is, like, if you are in a Canvas course that's like got real kids in it, right? Like it's a Power School course. If you're trying to assign a quiz before the term opens or after the term opens, like for a date that is outside those term limits, it's going to have a hard time. This is a course that doesn't have any kids in it. Now, I know was it Barb that wanted to know about the notifications. So 2 things. If you go all the way down on the little on your course level menu, there's settings. So the very last one should be settings. And maybe I'm having a brain fart here. Rita, help me. Where's notifications again?
Notifications, I think, are under account.
Oh, it's under account. You're right. I'm sorry. Erase. I had a brain fart there. So notifications. So where your profile picture is, or if it's just the little gray dude, where underneath the wildcat, you click account, and there's notifications. I'm sorry. You click notifications, and this looks really scary, but trust me, it's chill. It's chill, guys. We got this. So you can decide what kinds of activities you get notified for, and then how frequently and to what thing. So for example, I am a teacher, so I don't need to know when the due dates have changed, because if someone's changing the due dates, that's not me, we got a problem. That can't happen, guys. It's fine. Course policies, course content files. But maybe I do want to have an announcement about if I'm invited to a course, or I want to know about when things have been submitted late, or when a student has a submission comment, etc. Right? So I can decide these little icons. The check mark means right away. The clock means every day, just once a day. The calendar means once a week, and the X means never, right? And you can, give me a second here. Yep. So again, under account, you have notifications. It's this settings under account. We click settings. This is where you could add another email address. So maybe you check a different email. You can also add so that there are notifications to your phone by adding your phone. Oops, I guess now you can see my phone number.
Ooh,
Don't call me, guys.
639-845.
You can see my cell phone number that I've had since I was 16 years old, rocking the 920 with my Nokia brick phone. But yeah, that's where you can add your phone. You can also, like, if you download the teacher app in the App Store as well, there is a app store that also does notifications as well. But if you don't want to download a separate app, yeah, you can just do it to your email or just to push notifications with a text message. But if you have the app, which is white with like yellow circly boys on it, that will push the notifications out the same way that it would with like a text message. It's going to be in that same frequency.
Can I ask Mary, what's the name of the app? Is it part of Canvas's apps or
Yep, it's called Canvas Teacher.
Canvas Teacher? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so just keep in mind at the high school, we're not pushing out the Canvas app for any students. Students will have to go to the website because it's definitely more reliable in terms of functionality to upload files and things like that. Mary, we have under a minute, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.